Hey everybody, it's Shaman Sister Sin, and you're listening to the Meditations and More podcast. Today I want to talk to you about healing from narcissistic abuse. This is something that a lot of people want to know about, and for good reason. Narcissistic abuse is in many ways the worst kind of abuse. It's an attack on all fronts, mental, emotional, sometimes even physical. It undermines the person's confidence and can even cause them to question their own sanity. People who have suffered narcissistic abuse often end up with PTSD or even with narcissistic traits of their own. This isn't surprising. Dealing with a narcissist is literally like being at war. It is being under attack all the time with no let up, no time to heal, and no way to defend yourself. Narcissism is like a virus that spreads itself to every person it touches in some way or another. But after you get out of it, what do? What can you expect? Firstly, you got to remember that it takes the body and the mind a few days to process each stressful incident that has occurred. Since dealing with narcissists usually entails ongoing and even daily abuse, you might not have had the time to recover that you needed while you were in the relationship. So it's likely that you'll be recovering for a while. For example, it takes the body 3 days to recover from a physical incident of abuse and all the reactions that go with it. If you're being physically assaulted every day, there's no time to recover. All of that is still in there needing to be processed, and in time it will be. So just remember that recovery does not end with the relationship. It begins with ending the relationship. Healing takes place after the recovery as a matter of course. You know how they say, let time take time. Even if you were not physically assaulted, by the way, your body goes through changes and reactions when you're upset or when abuse happens, which I will clarify in a minute. So physical recovery time is still necessary. Emotionally, you're likely to be very torn. You might hate the narcissist for what they've done, and you're likely to be very angry, but you also might feel that you love the narcissist on some level still. You may need to grieve your relationship. And that makes sense. It might not have been what you thought it was, but it still deserves to be grieved because you lost something important to you. And the fact that it wasn't real to the narcissist doesn't even matter. It doesn't change that. It was real to you. It was important to you. Don't be afraid to grieve for what you've lost. It's important if you want to truly heal. It's okay to say, I love this person. I wanted to be with this person. I thought it would work, or however you feel. In a very real way, something died. In narcissistic relationships, the realization that the narcissist is not who people thought they were can feel like someone actually did die. So acknowledge those feelings and process them. Grief is how healing begins. Grief does take time to go through, though, and it doesn't start until there is a legitimate recognition that the relationship is truly over. Grief can be complicated by things, though. It may take time to recognize that the relationship is truly over and to let go of the idea of it, no matter how long you've been separated from this person. You may have become enmeshed with the narcissist and may be sharing what's called a trauma bond with them. Trauma bonding is very powerful. I'm actually going to do a future podcast on trauma bonding because it's really, really important when you're trying to understand narcissistic relationships. But just in summary, trauma bonding is, like the name says, the bonding of someone to another person through abuse or some type of trauma. It is both a biological and emotional process. Bonding of any kind is not love or trust or affection, even though it feels very strong and even though there is a desire to reunite with the person you are trauma bonded to. Unlike love and affection, a bond can only grow greater over time, regardless of your actual feeling. It doesn't go away or anything like that. It has to be broken. You can have a traumatic bond with a person you don't even like and feel unable to leave or let the relationship go, even though you dislike or even hate this person. This is often what causes people to stay in all types of relationships, even though everyone involved is just miserable. The push and pull aspect of narcissistic relationships in particular is one of the things that creates this type of dynamic and creates a trauma bond. Fighting is exciting. Making up is exciting. The cycle of idealize and devalue the drama in general is exciting. Not exciting in a good way, like being excited for going to an amusement park, but exciting in a clinical way. Your mind and body become hyped up and upset. Your hormones are released. Things start happening in there. Then the calm period comes, and more hormones are released, and more things start happening. This is sometimes called an arousal jag. Your body and mind become accustomed to this roller coaster over a period of time and eventually begin to crave it, even though intellectually you might hate it and the stress that it's causing you. The narcissist craves it too. It's often representative of the environment that they were raised in, and because of that, they suffer from chronic boredom and feelings of emptiness. This is one reason they intentionally provoke fights and cause problems. Without all that drama and fussing, they just don't feel alive. It may be how you were raised too, and that may be why you were susceptible to it. They and you also crave the affection and the calm that follows all that drama. Without war, you wouldn't know what peace is, right? So there you both are, stuck in this cycle that you may not even recognize. Because of trauma bonding and enmeshment, it's very difficult to walk away from these relationships, even when you truly dislike this person and truly recognize the relationship is abusive, empty, or pointless. This is why being discarded is so painful. Not only is the relationship that you put your very soul into over, and your illusions are totally shattered, which is bad enough in and of itself, but now you have the war with no peace. You have the pain with no pleasure. You went up at the top of the roller coaster, then you got stuck there. Your body and mind are addicted to that cycle, and when it gets broken, it's extremely hard to deal with. Breaking trauma bonds is very difficult, and I will cover that in a future podcast. But once you do so, once you break them, you're still going to be left with all these conflicting feelings and likely grief. So let yourself feel all of it. It's normal, and it's how you get through it. The only way out is through. It's like they say, if you're going through hell, keep going. Once all of these things are not as immediate and powerful, though, you might find that you're still really angry, and you have every right to be. This person abused you, treated you badly, they hurt you. Anger is important as it's often the reason people leave abusive relationships, so that's very important. It's a motivating factor. However, holding on to anger and hatred for long periods of time is detrimental. Yes, it does feel safer to be angry because anger is strong, but in the end, you're actually making yourself more vulnerable, not less, by holding on to it. Don't you deserve a break? Haven't you been through enough? Now you got to carry this hate and anger and resentment around all the time on top of all that? The good news is you don't have to. If anger is acknowledged and processed, it will work itself out naturally. Be careful to let that happen rather than trying to hold on to it out of fear. If you let it work itself out, it will fade over time as it's supposed to. One of the ways to work through your anger is to understand what happened. This is one of the things I try to do with this show. I try to help people understand what happened or what is happening. Emotions cloud everything. They make things much harder to see and deal with. Sometimes emotions make things hard to understand. For example, a lot of people have a hard time believing that the narcissist abuse is not personal. It feels very personal to them, and of course it does. But with a bit of distance, from a non-emotional standpoint, we can learn that it isn't really about other people at all. That's one thing that really helps people be less angry, is understanding that this is a disordered, sick, and truly miserable person who hurt you for reasons of their own that had nothing to do with you. You couldn't have changed it, and you didn't cause it. There was nothing you could do. You were simply in the wrong place at the wrong time, and when the danger revealed itself, you didn't recognize it because how could you? How can anyone who has not dealt with this understand it? But being angry at the narcissist doesn't hurt them. It doesn't punish them. It does nothing to them because they don't care how you feel. That's part of their disorder. It only hurts you, and in time you'll find that you're tired of hurting and you will let that anger go. Once you've dealt with the recovery and all of these emotions, healing can begin. These things are very important to the healing process, and if they don't take place, healing will be incomplete or will not occur. We often see incomplete healing. People say they're healed and believe they're healed, but they're still so angry or so hypervigilant in relationships. That's not healing. Probably one of the most important functions of healing is to learn why things happen and accept and understand your role in the things that happened. Of course, you had no role in narcissist abuse, but you can learn why you didn't leave the relationship when the abuse became obvious, or why you became addicted to the chaos cycle in the first place so you can prevent this from happening again. That is true healing. It's an ongoing process, but it's absolutely possible. Narcissists cannot heal. They cannot acknowledge their responsibility in any situation, and they cannot learn from mistakes. You can. I hope this clears a few things up for you. As always, I look forward to your comments, questions, and suggestions, so please keep those coming. I can't respond to them all, and I can't read them all, but I do try. Thank you very much. You've been listening to the Meditations and More podcast, brought to you by the Little Shaman. That's me, the Little Shaman. May the Great Spirit bless you, and have a wonderful narcissist and psychopath-free day.